Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Conquer the Clutter podcast, May 17th. Good weather. Very welcome. Very, very welcome. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to be looking away from you periodically because I'm going to man the waiting room today. So today we're going to be talking about the most important rule that our brain follows, all right, for changing habits, because everybody here today is here because they want to at least alter a habit in some way. All right. Okay. There we go. Good. All right. So basic rule. If we create a craving, that craving is not a bad thing. All right. That craving is the cue, all right, and reward for the work we're doing. Okay, what am I doing here now? There we go. All right. This is not manageable. I'm going to need somebody. Hold on, people. Who's feeling very administrative today? I'm looking for a volunteer to watch the waiting room and admit, because oh, Kelly, can you see the waiting room? I'm going to make you co-host and then you will be able to. Hold on. Where did everybody go? 22, people there. Oh, this is a bit of a interesting. Oh, there you are, Kelly. Okay, good. Don't anybody jump. Yes. Now can you see the waiting room?
Yeah.
Okay. You just keep an eye there and let people in. That would be wonderful. Okay. So craving is not necessarily a bad thing. All right. If we create a craving, that is the thing that makes the cue that the reward for whatever it is we're doing, good, bad, or indifferent, that craving powers this habit loop. We're having a really great technical day today, people. All right, so, and it finds the simplest triggers to convince you to do a certain action. Now, I have phrased it that way because that certain action can be good, bad, or indifferent. And do it every day, all right? Thereby forming a habit. Habits can be good, they can be bad, all right? So whatever the form of habit, it is grounded in two basic rules. The first rule, again, remember the craving, is to find a simple and obvious cue, something that alerts us. And it's particularly helpful if that cue is connected in some way to the action you want to do. Or don't do. It can also be avoidant behavior, all right? Sometimes avoidant behavior is what you need, not in order to avoid something that you need to be doing for yourself, but to avoid perhaps making a mistake. All right. All right, now. All right, where were we? Okay. All right. Second, clearly define for yourself what the reward is that you're seeking. And to the best of your ability, make those rewards enormously attractive to you personally. They give you something you really, really want, not just a ho-hum, so what kind of reward, but something that you really, really are vested in. The third rule is form the craving. Let that happen. All right. When things don't turn out the way we want, and usually that's because we chose the wrong reward, or that reward wasn't powerful and satisfying enough. It has to be satisfying enough. The reward for a habit can't be something ho-hum. All right. And when we choose unwisely, we know it. because we're disappointed or we get discouraged. Is there anybody here who has tried to form a new habit, presumably a positive one, and you gave up on it?
It's hard.
That happens all the time. Here's
Yeah.
why. Here's
Yeah.
why. The cue, the thing that tells you, I need to change this. All right. I either need to remove it, which is not your best idea. We knew that from last week. You can never, ever, ever remove a habit. So be careful when you form them. All right.
Change
It's about
replacing it.
replacing it. Absolutely. Thanks,
Yeah.
Peter. It's about replacing it with something different. And what's going to cue you to that new choice that you're seeking. What's going to fill in, and we're going to talk about that. All right. Fill in the routine, the behavior part of the 3 steps. It has to be the outcome, and the outcome has to be a reward. Now, connecting the type of reward with the type of cue is really important. Those two have to belong together in your mind and your experience really strongly, all right? Because when the reward isn't satisfying enough, you're going to end up disappointed or discouraged. Discouraged if you repeat it often enough as though it's a mystery. It isn't. Let's deconstruct it today so that you can develop it in a way that's successful for you. All right. When we see the cue and we start to anticipate the reward, but it doesn't arrive, or as I said before, it isn't satisfying enough. We got people in the waiting room. Kelly, can you let them in? Okay. Or it isn't satisfying enough. My cursor can't be 2 places at once. Sorry. Braden's going to have a lot of editing. Remember, we're always looking. As human beings, we are hardwired. Is there anybody here today who isn't looking for happiness? I prove my point. Okay. Is there anybody here today who wouldn't appreciate a little jolt of joy? Anybody?
No.
We'll talk later. Okay, if that's true, we'll talk later. All right. What about satisfaction for the effort you're making?
Yeah.
Anybody? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Mhm.
This is a no-brainer. It's like 3 steps that you can deconstruct. And if you can deconstruct something that didn't go right, you can do the reverse by being aware and conscious of what and how to create better, not perfectly, what you are looking for. Why? Because as humans, we crave joy, satisfaction, and meaning. All right. And we want, after undertaking to change a habit or form the habit that's going to be satisfying for us, we want to be satisfied, and we want that to be reliable. When it's not satisfying, what's our response? What's your response when you put a lot of effort into something, you've thought it through, and then it doesn't work out? What's your response? Anybody in the chat box? Something like frustrated. Starts with frustrated. Okay. And then it moves on. Sometimes if it's been more than a few times this has happened, you start blaming yourself, because that's really going to energize you. That's really going to help you stay on target. Anybody here not go to negative self-talk? Okay. So Remaining unsatisfied, hold on to your hats because you're all going to put your hand up for this one. All right, adds to our stress. Adds to our stress to the point we end up, depending on how vulnerable we are, depending on how self-punishing we are, in an emotional state like frustration is usually the starting point. Anger with the thing, anger with the world, angry with ourselves. And when we're tired of being angry, depressed.
Yeah, oh, big.
Where's the end point of that, everybody? Altogether, it starts with O. Overwhelmed. This is where overwhelmed comes from. It isn't a mystery. You can manage this. Always perfectly? No. Into every life a little rain must fall, all right? But you can manage this by deconstructing it and building a better bridge. So, once we develop a habit, our brain starts automatically to anticipate the reward. When we form a habit, it's because we have an outcome or a reward in mind, in our mind. It's going to give us something. Think of the last thing you tried to repeat to form a habit to do, to accomplish and finish. Did you not have a reward in mind? Now, the reward can be positive, you feel good, or the reward can be the removal of a negative, you stop feeling bad. That's okay, that's a reward, all right? Now, when we get distracted, those distractions hold less strength. That's a good thing. Is there anybody here who was in the process of trying to habituate something and they got distracted? Anybody? Okay. The good thing about that, as I said, is that the distraction holds less strength. It's not as powerful, nowhere near as powerful as the reward. All right. And so we can sit, we can persist, get a little distracted, but we can bring ourselves back to it. We will more likely repeat whatever the component parts are of the job you're undertaking that you're trying or have started to make. What happens when you do certain actions in a row and you form that habit? What's that made up of? You get alerted or cued, time to do it, I need to do it. You haven't got to the reward part yet. All right, what's that part in the middle? There are a series of actions that when we do them often enough, we form a routine. Anybody here have a routine? I don't know about you. First thing in the morning, I get out of bed, I take the dogs and I let them out in the backyard and tell them not to bark. All right, every morning, they don't listen. And then I go and I pour myself a coffee. I go to the fridge. Even if I'm half asleep, I take the milk, I put the milk in the coffee, I put it on the mic. It's a routine. There doesn't have to be anything mysterious about it. What are your routines? What are your routines? Trying to admit people here. Okay, good. All right, so those component parts made up of little tiny actions sequenced are a routine. And regardless of anything else around you, all right, when you do that often enough, you form a habit. And that habit is more powerful. If in the routine before I got my first coffee, and I'm not fit to live with until I've had it, all right, something else interjected itself, it wouldn't have the same strength as the reward of the coffee. That first sip that tells you the world is a good place. Today's going to be a good day. The second says, starts to sing, right? Okay, what's your routine? What are your routines? Because those routines So choose them well, are more powerful than a distraction. This can work both ways. All right. So you're wandering along and you don't have a routine. Anything is going to distract you and be equally powerful. You've formed a routine and that routine works for you quite well. It gives you the reward at the end. All right. It doesn't set the world on fire, but it gives you a reward at the end. It's going to be far harder to distract you away from that. That's why it's really important to deconstruct so you can build a better bridge. Now, when you do that often enough, and this is what we're looking for, all right? This word I'm going to use in a far different sense than we normally use it. When we do that, repeat, 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 repeat in a sequence often enough, and we formed a habit, and the habit has a good reward at the other end, you begin to crave it. Craving is what you're looking for. Craving is what you're looking for, because craving is the promise that if you go through these steps, it's going to end up well. It's going to end up well for you. You're going to get that thing that you want and need. Now, it doesn't have to be equal to world peace, okay? This is broken down in very small behavioral chunks. What part of your day right now, let's stop for a second, and we may run over, by the way. What part of your day is there not a routine in? We're not talking about you're an autotron here where, you don't have any free will. I'm just talking about you've developed a pattern that is easier, makes your life a little easier. What part of your day, when does it start to run amok? Because those habits, when they become cravings, are based on the brain forming a neurological attachment to this process. And that creates craving. All right, I have to mute somebody here. Sorry. Right. Okay, now. All right. Most of the time when we experience a craving, we do it so gradually we don't even realize. We're not aware. All right. We don't form it in our mind as a pattern. If we don't form it in our mind as a pattern, even the easy ones, build on the easy ones. If you can do it for easy, with a little more conscious thought, you can do it for the more difficult things too. All right. These cravings happen almost outside of our awareness. We're not really aware that they exist. One of the things I'd like you to do for homework, all right, is I would like you, as you're going through this week, to ask yourself, is this a routine? Is this some part of a routine for me? And is it working? Is it working in my favor? Or is it distracting me away from a path, the better bridge? All right. And so because they form so easily, repeat, 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 all right, that's why we can be blind to their influence too. So when we associate cues with a certain reward, our brain takes over. All right. Remember, we talked last week about we're not actually making a conscious choice. Our brain is faster than we are. And whatever we've habituated, it's going to go, oh, she wants this. Oh, what? Assess the situation. Bing, 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 bing. Oh, she's done that more often than not. That's probably what she wants. All right. Remember, so when you do form these cravings based on a successful, rewarding reward, your brain is going to put that in your subconscious. All right. And that starts this habit loop spinning generally in your favor. Now, think about it though. There is nothing programmed into our brain. Okay, it holds banks of memory, that's all. And that makes us see things though more easily in whatever particular way our habit has cleared that path. So it automatically makes us want, whether that got us where we want to go today, it automatically makes us want the thing that we went in search of before. All right, good, bad, or indifferent. It's our brain going, assess the situation. This looks like Monday. Usually on Monday, he does this. Okay, we're going to start with that, and we're going to make that the impulse. The impulse. Be aware of the impulses. But once our brain learns that a particular behavior, a particular item or choice really contains a much more desirable reward, guess what your brain will do? You won't even have to ask it. You won't even have to think about it. Your brain will go in search of anticipating that reward. And the more that you enjoy the benefit of the reward, the payback that you give yourself by making conscious choices to start and then habituating them, even when you'd rather sit on the couch, even when you'd rather watch Netflix, even when you'd rather be on the shopping channel. All right. When you form that other habit and you get the reward for it, now your brain is going to go in search of that and make that the easiest choice. Right? And that'll be moving each and every one of us toward actions and outcomes that more appropriately meet who we are today and what we need. If we don't, we're going to be reinforcing disappointment. And disappointment cheats our reward system. All right? So now, how do you do that? How do you do that little shift? All right. You do it by going in search. You have to be conscious though. You're not on autopilot. All right. Be aware. Small cues. The little, I wonder, what would that lead to? And follow and experiment a little. Think outside the box. All right. Those little cues that pop up, some of them will indicate the success we're looking for. This could work. This could work. This could work. All right. And when you choose, remember that when you repeat those cues, you start to move toward developing the cravings. The cravings, particularly when you've kind of designed cue, routine, outcome. Cue, routine, outcome, reward. That starts to go on autopilot. All right. Now, even in the face of loss, there are, even every time that cue gets you part of the way there, but you don't cross the finish line. You don't end up where you want to be. All right, quite. Part of the trip was good and successful and rewarding. Even in the face of loss. Oh, I wonder if it'll turn out that way again. There are neurological mechanisms that help us ignore temptation.
Girl got some kind of blood disease and she blew up.
No, we're gonna have to. People, can I ask you, when you check in, is there not a cue that says muted? Is there not? Okay, I've checked a few times, and that's why we're having this difficulty. I thought it said that, but I'll check it again so we don't have as many distractions. Okay. Now, to overpower, how many people here have a habit that is almost like a slippery slope? You know, grass in the morning on a hill, straight downhill. Yeah, okay. So to overpower those kind of habits, the habit of giving in, there's only one thing you have to do. One thing. You need to put yourself on pause and you have to recognize which craving. Remember, you can form a craving to good, to bad, or to indifferent. It never works out, but it doesn't quite get you across the finish line. That's indifferent. All right. If you're going to make the effort, make it on your own behalf. Which cue is cueing what craving? Every time you get a little, ask yourself, what do I want from this? What do I want from this? And I'm going to ask you for this week only, carry a little notepad with you, even one of these. Okay. And enough times, do yourself a favor. This is doable. This is so doable. Write down, had a thought, maybe I would, whatever. What was the reward? What was the reward? And how many times did you seek that reward or something so like it? Because that will be the thing that you may inadvertently have developed a craving for. You don't even realize it. You just tell yourself, just it never turns out. I always end up back there. No, that's not the way your brain works. That is a function of the routine that you are setting in motion and following as though it was required, as though that's the only way to do it. It isn't. All right. So be careful that the craving, the cue that you're triggered by, doesn't promise a craving that you don't actually want. Because it's never ended up well. All right. Never ended up well. Because that can drive, like, it's your brain going, what is this situation? Oh, this situation is like that. Pull, pull, pull what he or she most often wanted done the last time. It drives our less desirable behaviors. All right. And if we're not putting the effort into remaining conscious while we want to change and form new habits, we miss the anticipation stage. We miss it. It just sails right by. And so we're strengthening the thing we don't want to do. Be aware. And we don't mean to. We don't mean to. Then after a while, we convince ourselves, oh, that's just me. I can't do it the other way. Yeah, you can. But you have to start way upstream when you get the cue. When did you get the first idea? That's the time to catch it. That's the time to shine the light of day on it and say, and where are you heading me? And what are we going to end up with again? All right. So what could I do instead? Now, cue is almost always, if you're in the carry it out the behavior stage, cue is almost always connected to a specific reward. What is it? What is it? Because with respect to that cue and that outcome, you wouldn't be here with me if that was working for you. All right. Now, in the main, I'm sure your lives are great. You're successful, happy enough, right? But there are things you folks want that you're not getting. And this is the way to do it. All right. Now, when we do the thing that doesn't work out often enough, that's what we develop the craving for. Not a good idea. Delete, delete, delete. Okay. We start experiencing that craving in small doses. Okay. And for a while, when we continue that pattern, we tell ourselves, you know what? It could be worse. It could, okay, it could be worse does not mean that it was good. Don't settle for it could be worse. All right. What about trying something new just by being conscious? If you were having to learn a new skill, what skill in each of your lives right now, what skill would be a new skill for you that, you know, that you've ever thought of, right? What skill? You wouldn't be following repeat, 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 repeat. You'd be thinking your way through it step by step, wouldn't you? That's all I'm asking you to do this week with respect to whatever the biggest habit is that gets in your way. Because I would like you to have the satisfaction and the reward of being proud of yourself. Because I know I hear way, way too often in the cases of piles and clutter when I work with great people, lovely people, all right? They want empty spaces. They want a feeling of peace. They want a feeling of predictability. And they want that to be around them. They want to be surrounded by it. All right? Just a little sanity. Just not looking and thinking, oh, another job. All right? And that could also be because some of the most troubling things that I'm told are worrying about someone coming to the door and not being able to open the door, you know, or wonder when is the wrong person going to come to the door and this is really, you know what, going to hit the fan. All right. If anybody's in that boat, put it to a direct message in the chat. And I'm going to be looking at what our next topics are going to be. All right. So, all right. I'm going to ask everybody to mute though. Okay. So, all right. Hold on. She escaped me. All right. There we go. Sorry, people. We have had a lot of interruptions today. All right. Anything repeated often enough can become enough to make any activity, the worst and the best, become a habit. All right. So rather than trying to create new habits, it's far easier to change the old ones. Remember that one. Remember that one. Build on what you already have, but be conscious of the point at which it starts to run amok. And that's the point where you change the reward for the cue. That cue is promising you a reward, but you know that whatever happens next in the way of the routine and the behavior you're going to follow is not going to lead you there. That's the point at which you stop. All right. And start doing anything else that looks logical. You didn't come up with the pattern of behavior that you have right now that leads to the clutter. You didn't come up with that. All right. You develop that over time, either by misjudging something or becoming overwhelmed and not dealing with one or the other. The secret to change old habits is using what's already in your head. You have a great head. You have a good head. Habits are actually only a 3-step loop. What's the first step? The cue. The cue sometimes is also called the trigger. Okay. What is the next step? The routine we follow. The routine. What is the third step? The reward. Sometimes it's also called the outcome, but reward is a far better term for it because we're always looking for a reward as humans, okay? Rather than trying to avoid the cue, which is impossible, people, all right? You can't avoid the cue. It's part of your everyday life. The world isn't going to change for us. I'm still going to have to drive by Dairy Queen, all right? Yeah. They are not going to reroute that road no matter how often I wish it. All right. Since cues exist in our day-to-day world, okay, we need to change. We can't change the cue. We really don't want to change the reward, right? That optimal outcome, because that has proven itself something that we habitually go in search of, right? We're habitually looking for, and it could be something as generic as just peace, just space, just simplicity, just not one job after another. Whatever that reward is, we keep looking for it. The most successful thing is to attack the middle section, right down the middle. What we can relatively easily do is to change the routine. Now, on the difficult side of easier is the fact that that routine has probably become, you're going to have to really look at how much that routine between cue and reward has become an automatic behavior sequence. Well, I am never probably going to get out of bed, go to the fridge and drink the cream from the coffee. Okay, I'm always going to go and pour the coffee first. Then I'm going to get the cream. Then I'm going to put the cream in the coffee. Then I'm going to tell the dogs to stop barking. Then I'm going to open the microwave. Then I'm going to put the cup in the microwave. Then I'm going to hit 2 minutes. Then I'm going to go and tell the dogs come in. Bad girls. Then I'm going to go back and get the coffee. All right. The routine becomes an automatic. Okay. So it only becomes an automatic, though, because of the cue. The alarm went off. Okay. And the alarm going off, me opening my eyes, sets the path. This is the same for you, too. Creates a path toward that first and second sip of coffee. And the third sip somehow is never as wonderful. All right. But that first and second sip, you ever notice that? What is the reward for you? And what is the cue? Because if I want a different routine, I have to catch it at the cue. By the time I'm toddling down the hall with the dogs following me, I'm committed to the intersection. All right, you have to catch it at the cue. And I have to then say to myself, okay, today, this is what I want. I want this instead. I want to go and I want to pick the paper up at the front door. I want a different next step. But for some reason, all right, if the reward doesn't arrive, has anybody had that happen? Or it doesn't work out to be as satisfying, the reward can't be any old thing. It has to be not what it has been, but it has to be something that is equally satisfying. All right. Okay. Focus on the routine, just that part in the middle. It's been proven over and over again. It is far easier to convince ourselves to adopt a new behavior and make it a new routine. Far easier. All right. If there's something that is familiar at the beginning and at the end. We know the cue. We know the end. Okay, the end point is what will always work. We will always work toward. And let's not kid ourselves. The reward, the satisfaction, the reason it will always work for us. Why? Why does that make sense? Because it has always worked for us. It's always proved itself. The reward has always proved itself. Stop and think right now. Just think of something simple in your life that you do as a habit, that is a cue. You have a routine and you have an outcome or a reward. The cue goes off. You want a reward that is equal to whatever you would have gotten normally, but you're going to follow a different routine. What would be one next step that you could take? Let me give you an example. Say, for instance, this week is recycling week. All right, it's paper week. And the cue is, this is paper week for recycling. All right. So what do you normally do? Do you normally go and sort of scan every room, pulling the papers together, put them in the recycling bin? Bob's your uncle, you're ready. Okay. All right. If you do that, and the reward then is what? The papers go out. You got some space, that's done for another 2 weeks. Okay. Well, that reward is better than the papers are piling up like some kind of punishing nag in your life, right? Okay. But say you didn't do that. Say you had resisted. You just thought, oh, you know what? That recycling bin is too heavy. There isn't enough paper. Whatever. Which would be better? Even if you don't have a lot of paper, the bin's not full. Let's say. How that happens, I don't know, with the amount of paper that comes into our life. But let's just say we're going to have a little fantasy trip here that there isn't enough paper in life. And you take the paper, you put it in, you look and you say, that's only half full. It's not worth it. I'll wait till next week. Which would be better for you in the long run? Habituate the behavior of putting it out. Habituate, say, recycling is on a Thursday. By Tuesday, every week, every 2 weeks for paper, you say, okay, Tuesday, before I go to bed, sometime in the day when I have some energy and I'm not going to be tempted to watch Netflix, or I'm not going to be, it's been a miserable day and I don't want to do it. Do the thing you least want to do first and get it out of the way. All right. Go and get the papers. Tuesday, put them in the bin. And Thursday, whether you have a quarter of a container, a half a container, whatever, less than a full container, put it out. Or wait till that darn bin fills up and then remember it and put it in. Which do you think, one or two, would habituate? Yeah. Remember, habituation is the secret and the reward, because you are getting a mini reward. It's not much, let's face it, okay? But it's what you're looking for, right? Because does anybody here have so much space in their home that they have enough room for all the various things that we recycle? No, no. Most people don't. So habituating the small things is so much better. You're getting a little reward that is satisfying frequently. Now, that's a very boring example. I'm sure that there are more dramatic examples, but it makes the point. All right. Okay. We can never truly extinguish bad habits. That's why we really need to be on guard. They are coded neurologically in the makeup of our brain. Why? Because we favored those choices often enough that we trained our brain to go looking for them. Don't plan to change a habit. Recognize bad habit, bad outcome. What's the cue? Catch it at the cue. What is the reward that would make that change really meaningful for you? All right. In my world, it would be Kawartha Lakes ice cream as opposed to Dairy Queen. Okay, Kawartha Lakes. Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody out of my way, elbows up. So what is your equivalent? What is your equivalent? Because it really has to pay off. And then it promises. And when you see the cue, you know you have a craving, all right, because you start to hum. You start to hum a little in anticipation of the reward. All right. Okay. That reward, it's humming at you. It's humming your name because it's already proven to you that it feels good. And that could be space. That could be peace. That could be somebody off your back nagging you to get it done. That could be the fear. Just letting go of the fear that you have to worry about somebody coming to the door and having a right to come in. All right. And that guarantees that it will be adequately satisfying. Any old reward isn't enough to be the cement for that change habit. All right. So if we use the same cue and we provide the same reward, you will be surprised. You will be surprised how manageable it is to simply shift the routine, which will automatically change the habit. Almost any behavior, short of ones that support life, okay, can be transformed if the cue and the reward stay the same. And happiness, joy, peace, the extinguishment of self-blame, self-deprecation, all of those are great rewards. All right, so let's have a look at a habit we want to change. Didn't you know there was going to be homework? Come on. Okay, take out your pens and paper. I would like you to write down, so you're clear, what is a cue that happens to you, if not every day, most days? And it's a cue for something you do habitually. And you're not entirely satisfied with the way it works for you. Got it? Now, pick something that's like among the commonest. Doesn't have to be world peace equivalent. The one that's kind of become a best friend. How many people here have a cell phone that they gravitate to? All right. And every time, yeah. And that is the cue. It's a cue for boredom. It's a cue for interest. It's a cue for curiosity. It's a cue for what's happening in the world. It's a cue for orienting you to what you're going to think, what you're going to think about, what you're going to do next, what might interrupt your day and your plans. Okay, it's a common one. Now, ask yourself really carefully, really truly for each one of you, what is the reward or the outcome that you're seeking that's worth all the effort to attend to that cue? What is it what is it that it gives you? In one word, what does it give you? Some of you may say, breaks up boredom. Some people may say it's a stimulus. Some people may say, and they just did say it, a distraction from everyday life and its demands. Who doesn't need that from time to time? But how's it working? How's it working? Do you really want to habituate that? What's going to happen to the rest of your life? And I know how strong that impulse is. And I can give myself a great reason for doing it, right? Because I own a business and I have to check my email. Okay. Yeah. But no, I've given myself certain windows when I check. Otherwise, I'd be on that darn thing all the time. How about those Facebook reels? Do you really care about 9/10 of that stuff? And do you I started, somebody was showing me something on it. That stuff is like, do you remember when, what was the name of that kid's show? Darn, forgot it. But it was like stimulus, 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 stimulus. And all we did was create a lot of overstimulated kids. Is it giving you the reward? What is the reward you're seeking? If it's boredom, is there something else you can do about boredom that would be happier, would be more joyful, would stimulate more of your senses? Is it curiosity? Barney. Barney was a good one too, Glenda. You're right. Okay, now let's brainstorm a little. So, is your cell phone going anywhere? No. Are any of those channels going anywhere? Any of those apps or whatever they're called going anywhere? No, they're not. They're going to be there. Okay, so you've got the same cue. What one new routine could you add right out of the gate that would give you enough of what you're looking for, but not cost you what you don't want to pay? So for some of those things, let me give you some ideas and you send me your ideas too. All right. Before you get on it, go on your alarm and set your alarm for the same length of time you spent doing cleaning up. The same length of time that it would take for you to solve a problem. That you did solve a problem. Okay? Or set a length of time in that alarm for how long in the day, or broken up into pieces because you may want to come back to it later. You're going to allocate to being stimulated and having your curiosity satisfied. Break it, set an alarm. If they are sites that get you into trouble, I'm going to seriously suggest that you delete them. You can always add them again later when you have habituated a new routine, a new habit. All right, they're not going anywhere, All right. They are not going anywhere. But if they get you into trouble, it's like not opening your door to somebody who hurts you. Okay. In what specific situation, all right, will you pay attention to that cue or not? Because we need to reinforce actually reaching the reward, not getting the reward, and in place of it, we get a punishment. Okay. And we seek, as humans, we seek rewards. That old cue creates a craving. Be careful what you let it create a craving for. All right. So let's go through it step by step. Right now, we'll take 5-10 minutes. Think of that habit, especially one that you want to change. Okay, especially one that you want to change. Okay, now picture yourself facing the cue. Whatever happens, a ping, let's say a ping goes off. Oh, my phone. All right. That prompts an unwanted habit. What do you feel right before you get that message? Oh, my phone. What do you feel the moment that cue sounds in your head? Bring yourself face to face with that cue or trigger. Do you feel excitement? Do you feel tension? Some other sensation? Think of it now. What do you feel? Hey, write it down. Where do you feel it? What part of your body do you feel it in? Really dig down on this because this is important and this is all doable. This is like Dick and Jane and Spot books. Okay, that's how basic this is. There's no one here who can't do this. And when you have that feeling or that thought, could be a thought, what quickly runs through your mind? So if it's the Facebook reels, it's sort of the ping, you go, oh, I wonder. Yeah. And then what? Oh, and there's kind of like oh, maybe they'll be the ones that I want. And they never are. There's somebody's always got their dog just died. And they want to have a picture of their dog. And like, there are so many negative things that people share. And I hope that it's because the world is a receptive audience to comfort them. But do you need that in your day? Do you need the negativity in your day? Do you need the distraction that leads to the next distraction? What runs through your mind? Is it curiosity? Is it excitement? Is it feeling? Does it breach loneliness? Do you feel like by wishing people something that somehow you're part of something? Does it give you belonging to a community? And right after what runs through your mind, what is the next behavior that you're aware of? These sites, this type of triggering is designed to make you want more. How many people think, what am I doing? What am I doing? Is this the best I've got for my day? Because that is the next step in getting closer to repeating that habit. What is the next behavior you're aware of? That is when you step on the wet grass and you go straight downhill. What was the cue? That's the first. What do you feel right away that prompts you? All right. What's the reward you're seeking? You're looking for something. What are you looking for? And are you going to find it there? Or does it give you a lot of way less than satisfying reward, but that's the best you've developed so far? You haven't gone in search of where the real reward for you is. It sure isn't on Facebook. Facebook's great, but it's not the answer to anybody. All right. Because the next behavior, you pick it up. Oh, I wonder, I'll just have a little, and half an hour later. All right. That is the next step in getting closer to repeating that habit over and over and over again. And then what do you do next? Do you find yourself engrossed in it? And following that, what do you do next? More of the same. That's only productive for you. That's only worthy of you if that's what you really want out of life. But if you want more than that out of life, we need to stop at that cue and figure out, what reward am I really looking for? And I won't accept any substitutes. Facebook will always be there for its purpose, but it's not going to be my purpose. And it's, or whatever the other behavior is. So track down the what do you do next choices. Write that one down. Cue, response. You respond to it, you're aware of it. What do you feel? Where do you feel it? What is it promising you? And is that what you're really looking for in that moment at that time? Because by the time you make that next step, and what is your next behavior choice, you're committed to the intersection, officer. That's to track that. What is the next behavior after that? That's where you start building the habits that are going to support you in the way you want and need most.
Elaine, could you just repeat that? Because that
Yeah.
was really important, and I
cue-
fell.
That's okay. So cue, we get cued. You can't control the cues. You can't control them. They're out there. All right. They are out there and they're not going anywhere. There will always be a Dairy Queen. And so what's the cue? Okay. You alert to it. You respond. Oh, that's still an automatic response. When you respond in an instant, your next choice is based on what is the reward it's promising. That's where I would ask you, put yourself on pause for a second and ask yourself, is that the answer? Is that my answer for the day today? Because that'll always be there. Is that enough? Is that what I'm looking for? Is that what I need most? Because the next thing you do, the next behavior you choose, that's when you commit to that and you strengthen that habit, rather than use your awareness, your new awareness of the cue, and the fact that you cue to it, you alert to it, and then those first 1A, 1B, 1C are involuntary. They are involuntary. They're the way our brain works. So A1 is you see the cue or you hear the cue. 1B is you alert to it. You notice it, you alert to it. 1C is, what does that promise in your mind You have an outcome that you're looking for. You have a taste of something that you have been made to want. Is that what you need? That's the point. Because as soon as you take the next step, what is the next behavior you engage in? At that point, you're committing to either strengthening that habit or saying, that's not what I need right now. Reminder to Elaine, I'll go on Facebook later, but this other thing or these other things are what I actually need today. And what will I get from that? I will get what I need. All right. That creates a behavior chain. Okay. And that's what becomes habitual behavior. That's what. Don't strengthen the thing that is giving you a crummy payoff. And it's not that it's crummy, it's that it's the wrong thing. It's the wrong thing to meet the need. Later on, you may have a need that innocently you go to Facebook or you go to the internet or you do whatever. But that's because at that point, that's what you wanted and needed. You made a conscious choice. And just enough of it. Okay, you can't change something if you don't make yourself aware of what you do and what you feel step by step, right at the beginning, right up front, before you commit. Because if you keep doing this exercise that I'm coaching you on this morning, you'll be surprised at what you can stop and put in its proper place, in its proper perspective. It's still there. There's nothing so terrible. It's not going anywhere. But it's not the main event in your life either, that you end up 2 hours later thinking, where did that 2, 3, 4 hours go? Right? Okay. Because until that step-by-step process is clear in your mind, so clear that you can see it, you can spot it as it starts, that first step, that can be, if you manage it, if you commit to that, that can be the first step in habit reversal. Not habit removal, habit reversal, giving yourself more options. Most people's habits have occurred for so long, and I know my worst ones have as well, that they don't pay attention to what causes it anymore. For example, what words or situations trigger the onset of a habit for you? Okay, because all of that cue, routine, reward for each of the habits you have has become a complete set. It's not broken up. You have to consciously make yourself break it up. For each of us, any habit, good, bad, and indifferent habits, have you ever stopped to notice long enough what that behavior chain is? I know this week, as I was preparing this information, caused me to reflect on a few of mine. All right. Why you engage in that habit. Why? I'll tell you why. It's not a mystery. What is it? Because of the reward it promises. All right. You better be sure that what that habit is promising you, it will have delivered enough of the time. That's the problem, that you will believe it. All right. But is it good enough? Is it good enough? Be aware that at first you're going to have trouble. You are going to have trouble. You're going to have trouble slowing yourself down. That's the only trouble you're going to have. This other thing has become so automatic, you don't even question it. The hardest part is going to be slowing yourself down to catch yourself at that moment when you really can ask yourself a life-changing question. Okay? Be careful too. What did you feel Optimistic. Oh, and what did you think? Oh, this could be the answer for. We come up with reasons. All right. And what did you do? So working through the what did you feel? What did you say to yourself? All right. What reasons did you give? What stick handling logic did we engage in to convince ourselves that this thing was a good idea? Keep digging. Keep digging. What is it promising? And of what it promises, is that what I want and need the most right now? It's not a lifetime decision. All right. Maybe it could be depending on what habit we're talking about. But whatever you do next, that becomes the automatic response. For no other reason than you strengthen that choice in your brain will go and find it first. Repeat, repeat, repeat. It stops being a choice. We think we're making a choice. We're not making a choice. Somebody wound us up and our brain's going, okay, sounds good. Sounds good. That's what you did the last time. Yep, 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 probably. Okay. Ask yourself this. When you're tempted to do that, are you bored? Are you stressed? Are you lonely? Are you fill in the blank? What is the one word that would describe what you are at that moment? And I want to tell you, if that's not leading you where you want and need to be, you're a whole lot more than that. You're a whole lot more than that. I know that. You come here every week, all right? You're looking for something, and it's yours to have, and I want you to have it. Now, imagine yourself in some typical situation that kind of predates that habit, if you can. And beginning to fall, okay, into that unwanted productive habit, all right? When we've worked through all of the steps, we've broken them down, 1A, 1B, 1C, not to D, I think you'll find, like I do, that if you feel even a little sense of satisfaction, all right, that feels a whole lot better than being there again, feeling familiar. Even a little bit of satisfaction, okay? Those unproductive habits are in part a reward because that's what we've habituated. We've settled for a lot less than we deserve and a lot less than what we're working for. Sometimes bad habits can be the leftovers as far as we were prepared to work for physical stimulation or mental or emotional stimulation. All right. Just be careful though, because the more we do those things, when we know they're not going to take us where we want and need to be, we're going to form a crave for it. All right. It might be a worthwhile idea to spend a short period of time this week tracking cue, response, that cue, okay? Cue, reward, cue, response, reward, cue, response, reward, cue, response, reward. And then ask ourselves, pre-cue, pre-response. Cue is automatic. We can't control those. They're in our environment. Feelings, track the feelings, the sensations, or the thoughts you have. There will be a pattern there, I promise you. There will be a pattern, and it may come as a surprise to you, okay? But a pattern recognized is a solution just a few steps away. After the week, come back. Okay, I just got to realize that they're on here. Okay. After the week, come on back and let's talk about it. Bring back actual examples. All right. And let's talk about it, because I think you'll be surprised how automatic some of those are. All right. And then the other thing I want you to think about is be careful continuing the habit of absent-mindedness, being somewhere else, okay, not engaged, and just automatically doing old things that aren't getting you. You're wasting your energy. We don't get today back. We get one today. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about one more thing.
Elaine, I'm sorry. Could you say it one more time? You said it 3 times, but I was saving something that was pertinent to this. Is what.
Okay. Q.
Oh, it was
Q,
Q
no,
reward response.
Sorry, I'm going to do it now. All right. Q, response, reward. And catch, you can't control Q. Qs are out there. They just, the way our world is organized, they're coming at us. But before you choose routine, ask yourself 1A. 1A is, what was that? How do I feel? What sensations do I have? What thoughts do I have? Because those are all the machinations for convincing us, oh, go on, go on, go ahead, you can do it. And they are the underpinning for that choice, behavior choice you will make that then habituates. And the more we habituate, the more we create a craving. We want the craving. The craving is the shortcut. Okay, but we want the craving that delivers. Okay, so I want to take us down here. Also, okay. Just hang on for a minute. The other thing that has been discovered, and this was in about 3 of the books that I read in order to kind of juice my mind up for this podcast series. The other thing that really facilitates us having awareness, but also having the combined energy, is patterns that become familiar to us, okay? And those patterns unfold automatically. And they unfold as we start to approach a cue or a trigger. And they are particularly, those alerts, those patterns are particularly powerful when we join groups, okay? Especially groups where change seems possible. Because the potential for change that we want, when it feels more possible, becomes more real. And it occurred to me as I was reading that I think that's what this, the Conquer the Clutter podcast community has actually evolved into. And that is, I think there are enough common faces here every week that I think that we've created a community for each and every one of us. All right. And I'm hoping that community helps each and every one of you and myself as well. To recognize that change. All right. That change is possible. All right. And the fact that change is possible becomes one step more than that, and that's believable. Okay. In small ways first, the changes that each and every one of you and myself want becomes believable. And when it becomes believable, it feels reachable. It feels real. All we have to do is figure out the routine we need in order to get there and the length of time we have to persist in order to close that gap. So when we can see it and all of you can see each other's eyes, all right, when you can see that in another person's eyes, that is a huge plus, a huge power base for habits to permanently change. And we heard last week from Alina in Miami. She's been struggling with something for nigh on to probably, well, that she told us about it 2-3 years. It's been almost 3 years that this podcast has been running. And she said herself, I was a little surprised, a little pleased actually, that Alina said, the coming every Wednesday slowly reinforced for her that she would be able to make that step. And then seeing the change that other people have made and they've shared in the struggles that they've shared made her not feel alone. And actually, in not feeling alone, she felt stronger. All right. Because it is the basis. When you see change and you see belief in other people's eyes, that's the power for habits to change permanently. All right. We must believe, and we want to be very careful what we believe in. We don't place our trust, all right, unwisely. It has to be earned. But when that exists, that is living proof that change is possible. And the power of a group to teach individuals how to form their beliefs and their trust happens when people come together. And we come together every week. I try to give you material that I think is pertinent and will stimulate you and will challenge you in all of the questions that you've asked, to help one another. Belief is easier when it occurs within a community like ours. So I hope to see everybody here next week. And I hope that you will bring your cue 1A. What was the first thing you felt? Where did you feel it? And what did you say to yourself? And what 1D is, and what was your first impulse about the first behavior to take as a result? Because that's where we start to fine tune that routine to make sure it gets you where you're headed and where you want to end up. I will see you next week, everybody. Have a great week.
Elaine,
Yes.
Elaine,
Yes.
can I tell you the habit that I want to work on right now?
Sure.
As I told you, I had told my friend not to repeat something I said.
Mhm.
Well, now what I think I should replace it with is thanks for not sharing what I said. Instead of, telling them not to, but thank them for sharing instead.
I think it's always better to phrase things in a positive for sure.
Yeah, I just have to remember to do that so that
It's hard.
they don't feel like I don't trust them, because it's not that I don't trust them or I wouldn't be with them.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You take care. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.